So let's talk about ACLS. This is Advanced Cardiac Life Support. But we're going to give it another name, right? So we're going to call it ACLS. So we're going to say one, we're going to do activate. Emergency services. And help, to help you with the rest of the steps. And first off, let's say, what do we have here? What do we have going on? So we're going to say, step 0, we have somebody who has fallen down, who needs ACLS, right? We have someone who's unconscious, plus unresponsive. So what are we going to do? These 4 steps. So we have A, activate EMS. C, we're going to compress, or CPR. We're going to do the work of their heart. So we're going to help their circulation. And remember, all this is based on A, B, C, D, E. Right? This is part of our primary survey and support. And then airway, breathing, circulation, disability, exposure, right? But that's not the topic of this. Right now we're just talking about ACLS. So activate EMS, CPR, compress. We're going to do help. We're going to help the heart do the work of circulating the body by pushing down on that big sponge and helping the fluids go out to the body, right? Especially to the brain, to the guts, the kidneys, etc., and to the GI tract. The stomach, right? So next we're going to talk about the L, which is lungs. So we're going to do a bag valve mask or otherwise intubate them if necessary, and otherwise protect and ensure the airway and breathing are taken care of. And then finally, the S is going to be, is it a shockable rhythm? Is their rhythm is something that caused them to have a problem from the start, right? So we had some heartbreak. And now that led us to be unresponsive, unconscious and unresponsive. What started this all off, right? Hold on, this is critical that I do this. There we go. And so we're going to say, is this shockable? And so the next step is going to be, and this is going to help us with our next steps. And what does that mean, though? If it's shockable, how do we find that out? We're going to attach them to a monitor. We're going to hook up electrodes. We're going to attach the electrodes of the monitor, cardiac monitor, of a cardioverter / defibrillator. And observe them with the heart monitor and decide if you need to do synchronized cardioversion or defibrillation, which is basically unsynchronized, which means it just needs to be done. But we'll get into all that later. We're just going to talk about what ACLS is and make a fun little memory aid here. So it's going to be activate, and then CPR, which is going to be, in other words, squish. And then we're going to say lungs and see how they are. And then we're going to determine if we can do shockable, which means zap, or push. Because if they're not shockable, then the next thing we're going to do is push some drugs into the system. So zap is going to be cardioversion / defibrillation, and push is going to be drugs. So we're basically doing three things: squish, zap, push, but don't forget to breathe. So these are all the things we're going to be doing to take care of this loved one, someone's parent, someone's child, during the time in which they can get to a facility for serious life support, to keep their vital organs perfused by this loving heart right here. Okay? So before we get there, we're going to talk about the fork in the road of where we get to shockable, right? So we're going down this path of ACLS, and we have to remember this is the path of whether or not we're going to shock or not, right? To shock or not to shock, that is the question. And so we get to the crossroads here, and we say, what is it going to be? So plus shockable or not shockable. And what do those mean? So there's basically 4 rhythms we need to know. 1, 2, 3, 4. The shockable ones over here versus the non-shockable. And we'll get those done, and then we're done with this little module. So step 1, shockable. The first shockable rhythm is going to be pulseless ventricular tachycardia. Which means it came from above the atria, right? So it's pulseless ventricular tachycardia. The next one is going to be ventricular fibrillation. So these are the 2 you can shock. These are all the rhythms that can call someone knockout and make them unconscious, right? The third one, which you cannot shock, and the fourth one, which you cannot shock, are going to be pulseless electrical activity, and then finally we're going to have asystole, which is basically like cardiac arrest. There's nothing happening. Bada bing, bada boom.